Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Now I will tell you about one of the most amazing cities, its history and some interesting facts. Seattle, chief city of the state of Washington, U.S., seat, 1853, of King County, the largest metropolis of the Pacific Northwest, and one of the largest and most affluent urban centers in the United States. A major port of entry and an air and sea gateway to Asia and Alaska, Seattle lies alongside Puget Sound, a deep inland arm of the northern Pacific Ocean, and is at the center of a conurbation that is defined roughly by Everett to the north, Bellevue to the east, and Tacoma to the south. The city was settled on November 13, 1851, at what is now West Seattle. It was relocated the following year to a site across Elliott Bay near a Duwamish Indian village. It owes its name to the Native American leader Seattle, chief of the Duwamish, Suquamish, and other tribes of the Puget Sound area. Areas of great natural beauty, including the densely forested Olympic Peninsula and the Cascade Range, surround the city. Its urban center, dominated by tall skyscrapers that overlook Elliott Bay and enhanced by the city's abundant parks and neighborhoods, also offers a handsome prospect. Like other western cities in the United States, Seattle commands the resources of a broad hinterland, one that extends far east to the Great Plains of Montana. Linked by road, rail, ship, and air to global distribution networks, the city has grown to take on international economic importance, a development that owes much to Seattle's role as one of the world's leading centers for the manufacture of high technology and for internet-based commerce. Area 84 square miles, 217 square kilometers. Pop 563,000. Seattle is a city of distinct neighborhoods and urban districts that, though close to one another, change from one street to the next. Some neighborhoods, notably those near the Duwamish Waterway to southwest of the city center, are industrial in character, marked by rail yards, wharves, cranes, and low-income housing projects. Others, largely outside the city center, are showcases for the opulence wrought by Seattle's booming high-technology sector. Seattle's districts have a comfortably prosperous but not ostentatious feel, characterized by neat family homes and townhouses occupied by industrial workers, artists, academics, professionals, and that odd class of technology workers whom the novelist Douglas Coupland branded microserfs. The city is more closely connected to its downtown area than most of its counterparts in the American West, and considerable effort has been given to promoting the city center as a place in which to live and work. Seattle is a bustling place that thrives with industrial, commercial, and cultural activity around the clock. Its waters teem with great ocean-going ships, its streets with automobiles, its rail lines with transcontinental freighters and passenger trains, and its skies with aircraft of every description. Although the city's image is of a financial and commercial center, its people place great value on the arts, literature, sports, and other cultural activities. It boasts large arenas, multi-story bookshops, dozens of museums and galleries, and countless examples of public art. The city is densely populated. The metropolitan area, loosely defined, has grown to embrace once far outlying satellites such as Everett and Renton. The shift from urban to bedroom communities is a consequence of several economic considerations, among them the rapid escalation within the city of the cost of family housing. Many Seattle workers have elected to commute from distant but more affordable towns beyond the city proper. By the early 21st century, some 200,000 workers commuted to downtown Seattle from neighboring communities, creating heavy traffic and disruptions on interstate and regional highways. Despite the high real estate prices, however, the inner city remained popular among certain groups, such as young renters. Seattle grew rapidly at the end of 20th century, aided in its expansion by the arrival of workers, many of them highly skilled and educated, from around the world but also from recession-prone Southern California. Growth, a constant theme in the city's history, has been so persistent in Seattle and elsewhere in the Pacific Northwest that regional planners now locate the city at the center of an emerging region called Cascadia, a corridor some 400 miles, 645 kilometers, long extending from Eugene, Oregon, to Vancouver, British Columbia. Cascadia's commercial importance continues to grow substantially each year. Other models of urban growth make Seattle part of a conurbation called Pugetopolis, which extends southwest along Puget Sound as far as Olympia. Despite Seattle's enormous growth, it still maintains a high level of social and public services, excellent schools, and abundant parks and green belts, which have earned it the sobriquet the Emerald City. It is consistently rated one of North America's most livable cities, and, despite the vagaries of a highly volatile information technology economy, its fortunes seem to be ever on the rise. Seattle's climate is temperate, with cool summers and mild winters. To the west, the Olympic Mountains provide protection from the heavy winter rains that frequently inundate the Pacific coast of Washington, while the tall Cascades to the east shield the city from mid-continental extremes of heat and cold. Average high temperatures in July seldom exceed the mid-70s F, about 24 degrees Celsius, while average highs in January are in the upper 40s F, about 8 degrees Celsius. The temperature drops below freezing for about 10 to 15 days annually. Owing to the confluence of humid continental and oceanic weather systems, the sky is often overcast. However, the city receives an average of only 37 inches, 940 millimeters, of precipitation each year. The summer sky is usually at least partly clear, but overall there are fewer than 60 completely sunny days annually. Since Seattle's settlement by Americans of European birth or descent in the mid-19th century, that population has remained in the majority. In the early 21st century they made up slightly more than two-thirds of the central city's population, a figure that rose to more than about three-fourths in the neighboring suburbs of King County. Even so, Seattle is a mix of peoples, cultures, and religions and has a higher level of ethnic diversity than is to be found elsewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Similarly, Seattle's African American population was small until World War II. It grew from about 3,800 in 1940 to more than 30,000 by 1945, the result of an abundance of jobs in the defense and transport industries. In the period immediately after the war, the African American population declined but remained significant at about 16,000. Largely confined in the 19th century to the Harborside area of the city called Skid Road, African Americans faced a pattern of discrimination that was severe even by the discriminatory standards of the American West of the time. For example, they were forbidden to enter skilled trade unions until the late 1940s, and segregation in housing and public services persisted until well into the 1950s. In the early 21st century, African Americans made up a little under 1/10 of Greater Seattle's population, with about half of them living in the suburbs. Until the 20th century, Seattle's economy was based on lumbering and the extraction and transport of other locally abundant natural resources. Its economy diversified with the development of manufacturing, including aircraft and heavy machinery, food processing, banking, insurance, and transportation industries in the early 20th century, all of which expanded markedly during and after World War II. Electronics-based industries, notably those connected with software development and manufacturing, became significant in the 1980s and are now the most productive component of the economy. Biomedical manufacturers are of growing importance, while agricultural products grown in the so-called Inland Empire of the interior Northwest remain an economic mainstay. Numerous federal agencies have offices in Seattle. Washington state ranks among the highest in the country in per capita exports, and the vast majority of these exports are manufactured, processed, or shipped from Seattle. International trade is the most dynamic sector of the state and city economy, symbolized by the construction of the World Trade Center Seattle complex. Seattle's workforce is large and generally well-educated. Women comprise almost half of full-time workers. The median family income is well above the national average, reflecting a strong local and regional economy. Since its incorporation as a city in 1869, Seattle has been governed under a succession of charters. Under the most recent one, 1946, the city is governed by a mayor, who is elected to a 4-year term, and a 9-member city council, whose members are elected to 4-year terms through city-wide elections held in odd-numbered years. The council is governed by a president, chosen from among its members, who heads the city's legislative department, coordinates the work of the council as a whole, and serves as interim mayor in the event of the elected mayor's absence. The council's authority includes commissioning public improvements and approving expenditures, providing for public safety and health, levying local taxes, and overseeing city finances and properties. Council ordinances are subject to veto by the mayor, which may be overridden by a 2/3 majority vote. Seattle has municipal courts, to which misdemeanor crimes are referred, and houses district and superior courts that are integrated with the judicial system of the state of Washington. That's all for today. Subscribe to the Magic Cities channel and stay with us. Good luck.